Hey, I'm here today in Germany, in southern Germany, in the federal state of Baden-Württemberg, in the city of Aalen. And right behind me is the Innovation Center of Aalen, where lots of startups developing great ideas are headquartered, and one idea being developed here is based on IOTA, or will be based on IOTA now. And it's a new partnership, and I'm allowed to be part of this, and I'm gonna take you inside there. See ya. Hey folks, this is Chris Miller for Hello IOTA, and as you can see, today I am not in my normal studio at home, but in a very special location here in the city of Aalen, right in the heart of Germany's Innovation Center here in Baden-Württemberg at the Innovation Center of Aalen, which is a very special place, and very special things are happening here. I have been in contact for quite a long time with Sandra Jörg, who is sitting right next to me. Thank you very much for having us today. Because today the topic is Blackpin, and Sandra is Blackpin's CEO. And we want to learn more about Blackpin today, what it actually is, and this also involves the technology behind it. And to cover this, Tobias is here, Tobias Schmalzel, who is responsible as the CTO for the technical part, and will also explain today what all this has to do with another company called PlanB. And we have Holger Köter of the IOTA Foundation with us here, who is the Director of Partnerships at the IOTA Foundation, and he will tell us more about the connection between IOTA and Blackpin. Yeah, Sandra, thank you very much for having us here. What is Blackpin? Could you give us a brief introduction? Where are we here? Why are we here? And what's happening here in Aalen? So, first of all, thank you, Chris, and you all for being here despite Corona and the whole social distancing. We finally made it here. Very nice. Well, Blackpin, what is Blackpin? We founded Blackpin back in 2016, 4 years ago, and we actually started out with developing a mobile messenger. Back then there were not as many messenger out there as today. Today we've reached a point where people say yet another messenger, but back then the messenger aspired to be as secure as possible, or as a messenger could possibly be for the B2B sector. And the B2B sector has somewhat different requirements which community messengers do not offer. And I had the idea when I was in Israel. I lived there for 7 years. And there I saw how the Israelis were using WhatsApp quite smartly, also in the business sector, but then you could see how fast community messengers hit the wall, and that's how the idea arose, and that's what we've been doing for 4 years, but of course we plan on doing a lot more, and today that's where we come to the new partnership with PlanB and IOTA. That sounds pretty exciting. I suppose many out there are wondering, we already have WhatsApp, Threema, and so many more. What is so special about Blackpin? You have already mentioned that it is focused on the business sector. What would be features which messengers like WhatsApp do not offer? Oh yes, of course, we are different in various ways. There are open and closed messengers. Open messengers include Threema, Signal, WhatsApp. So basically the community messengers, which we all know, everybody can join and can decide whether you want to join or not. And there is this kind of peer pressure to render this successful. And that's also the reason why WhatsApp has been so successful. They have been there from the very beginning. With us, it's different. We are a closed messenger, which makes us more secure per se, and with our product, the customer or the organization licensing us as a software as a service model can decide who is allowed to join and who isn't. You get an admin center, and there you can organize all the users, the data, the teams, and you can cluster everything. Slack, for instance, is competition for us in the messaging realm. But as you've already said, we are fully focused on the topic of security for the protection of data in Europe, and that's why we can offer features which others don't have, as for instance, anonymizing user data or deleting personal data by means of anonymizing once customers or partners are leaving. So we have many and very specific tools which allow for secure communication in the business sector and thereby meeting the industry-specific requirements. Okay, that means a third party could not simply join. Not everyone can add other persons, as we know from various other messengers, but the company decides who can join. Exactly. We're talking about business here, so the company decides who gets to see and do what. Exactly. The company, first of all, decides on the areas it wants to use Blackpin for, like internal communication for business clients, sales department, foreign trade, communicating with partners, and so on. And then the company determines who can join their communication channels and who can't. And the company can also structure the layers and so on. And by the way, we also do not access the user's contacts for security's sake. We have, for instance, many bring your own device use cases where the app is used on private smartphones, but we don't mix this. The user's contacts will never be accessed by our software, but the contacts are added manually. And this means structural advantages for the users of a company, for instance, because the organizational structure is already pre-configured so that you can see who belongs to which department or branch of the company. We divide this into so-called teams and based on certain interests, departments or projects. And this is another advantage of our product because in the business sector, you are not searching for names, but for competences. In the private sector, you might search for your neighbor Jane Doe, whereas in the business realm, you search for somebody with a focus on legal matters in Spanish law, for example, and that's why the procedure is different for a business messenger. So this is tailored to the needs of the respective business you are working in. Exactly. You can also brand the messenger to fit your company's identity in order to use it as your own company messenger. Cool. On your website, I've seen something called chat cards. Has probably to do with organizing the workflows, as you've already mentioned. So what are chat cards in a nutshell? Yes, we have different cards. There is a user card, which is about the user himself. There is a team card and there is a chat card. So a chat card is the most simple application because this is all about the chats. We don't distinguish between one-to-one chats or multi-user chats, so it doesn't matter if there's only one or even 1,000 persons in there. And we also have information channels which allow for one-direction communication only and thereby replace the newsletter functionality, for instance, which is statistically decreasing rapidly. Anyway, together with email marketing, and then we have those team cards, and you can slide through all of these cards. You get a large view and such stuff, and everything is tailored to the B2B usage. So what happens if somebody decides to leave the company and has been part of data exchanges which are supposed to stay within the company's walls? Because at the end of the day, this is the job of such a business messenger, to keep that data safe and secure. Could a company cut off that person and deny that person's access to the data? Exactly, because every user actually has the right, even though it is not possible with community messengers like WhatsApp or even emails, to have that chat log deleted. According to GDPR, this is a right granted to everyone. However, this does not work if you don't have access rights as a kind of admin. We account for this by deleting through anonymization, so the content can be kept because this content shared by staff member XYZ might also be valuable, but he himself is anonymized and gets deleted this way, and he himself is not able to join the conversations anymore. So you also account for the fact that everything can only remain within this system. Right. And the biggest advantage which differentiates us from community messengers is that due to security reasons, a company's user data, be it customers, partners, or staff, remain protected. So the company decides what happens with the data. Of course, this has to be done as required by law, but maybe the company does not even want to give away customer data to third parties, and this can be ensured this way. Thank you very much for this introduction to Blackpin. This naturally raises technical questions. So how is this done? You've partnered with a company called PlanB, and Toby is sitting here with us. Could you maybe tell us a bit about how you found each other as partners? I think you're based not far away from here, so PlanB. What are you guys doing as a company, and what is your task in this whole undertaking? Sure, that's correct. Sandra and I have known each other for quite some time, and our companies have found each other because we as a company have been focused for 6 years on digital product development and digital platform development. And Sandra was searching for someone to help realizing this Blackpin platform vision and to also build a roadmap. And that's why we're sitting here together. With regard to the technical questions, messaging always sounds so easy. Sandra has already mentioned our focus on GDPR compliance regarding the storage of data, which also means for us that we have to think about where to store the data. But now with the IOTA partnership, we also need to figure out how to integrate a transactional layer into a chat application. These are the kinds of questions which we are working on while designing the roadmap. So let's say I'm talking with a friend, I'm part of a group. Is the data like pictures, videos, and such safe? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about the business sector here, and I suppose you've already thought about it. So what can you tell us about the security of the platform? Yes, so the messages as such and the whole platform is encrypted, and the messages and the communication channels are end-to-end encrypted. We're operating in the business sector, so this is nothing new. From reading the recent press announcements, you can learn that WhatsApp also claims being end-to-end encrypted, just as other messengers. With us, the difference is that on the one hand, we only generate those keys which are necessary to be able to read the respective messages and no additional keys. And on the other hand, companies in the business sector often have a requirement known as bring your own key, which means that there must be ways for allowing for the company's own certificates for encrypting their messages instead of using certificates by third parties. So this adds to the security for companies which are able to bring their own certificates and thus make sure that any sort of communication is encrypted by means of their own certificate. Okay, and what about storing these kinds of data? For instance, if I send a large video file around, do you have larger servers somewhere in the basement? Is this stored externally? Who takes the responsibility for ensuring that all is stored in a safe way? Generally, we are made in Germany and also hosted in Germany, which means the data is stored safely in Germany. At the moment, we are in the process of selecting a regional private cloud provider where we can host all the data and systems. As of today, we are not using any hyperscaler, and we're also not planning on using one. So this is a roadmap topic which will be enforced in the coming days and weeks. Okay, so GDPR is a big topic, especially in the business sector. So this means the ordinary legal requirements and policies apply just as in any other company. So one can be sure that whoever uses Blackpin is GDPR-wise on the safe side, because no unauthorized persons can get access to the data. That's what you take care of. Okay, great. This is, of course, a very important topic. As we've said, we're talking about the business sector, and the reason why we're sitting here today with 3 people has to do with IOTA. And we have the head of partnerships at the IOTA Foundation, Holger Köter, with us here today. Holger, great to have you here today. Since we might have quite some people watching this video who don't know what IOTA is, could you maybe give a little introduction as to what IOTA actually is all about, what the idea is, and from there we will move on to Blackpin. IOTA is a communication protocol. You can think of it like an infrastructure. We are a foundation, a non-profit foundation registered in Berlin. We are developing IOTA as open source, which means it is free to use, and we strive to enable data integrity on our planet. Data integrity is a very exciting topic in and of itself in times of ever-growing fake news, and we want to provide an infrastructure which can be used by everyone, which is decentralized, which means it is independent of single players, and which is based on a blockchain. We are developing IOTA as a new kind of blockchain. We always phrase it as a blockchain without a block and without a chain, because the existing technologies have major drawbacks like transaction fees, which are practically unpredictable if you look at technologies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that's of course a no-go in the business sector. We are developing IOTA in such a way that no fees apply whatsoever. and still get high transaction volumes and enable microtransactions in order to make new business models possible, like pay as you use, and at the same time ensure data integrity, organize data, and enable access to certain sets of data, that everybody remains in control of his own data. And this, of course, overlaps nicely with the vision and mission of Blackpin. And we have found this convergence here very exciting from the beginning, which is why we got together rather fast and have now also partnered officially. This would have been my next question. You've already mentioned that data integrity is important. We have many partners worldwide. We're not limited to Germany here. You can establish trust between different companies and so on. So talking about Blackpin specifically, we are talking about a business-to-business messenger. What is the added value here? Where will you start, and what is the IOTA integration about? Yeah, that's really exciting. Data integrity is one of the main features of Blackpin in order to bring several stakeholders of a value chain together. This could be municipalities or freelancers working together. This could be companies working together with external partners or internally. And Blackpin not only offers many new and different ways of collaborating, but also new ways for billing, such as billing per driven distance or billing per used good, which for instance could directly get booked by scanning, or in the context of a collaboration for consulting where you could bill to the minute. You might know the problem if you're sitting with a lawyer or any other expensive consultant, and he or she also invoices the time for making coffee. So if you factored in the hourly wage, you would certainly feel better if the specific consulting was billed to the minute. And for this, you would, of course, need a respective documentation. And here we think especially that collaboration with Blackpin is really exciting, to be able to have all the data and events like GPS coordinates, start times, contract settlements, and so on documented in an integer way through IOTA. Okay, that means I would be using my messenger on my smartphone for every kind of communication, even geopositions and contracts of all kinds. I can map everything in this messenger in combination with IOTA, so to speak. Exactly, yes. The idea is to have a messenger in the B2B sector, and that this messenger is secure, that you as a person who runs a company don't have to worry about GDPR and such, because Blackpin is fully compliant here, that all the data is not stored outside of Germany, for instance, and that data can be stored in an integer way by means of technology like IOTA. That's quite a bold vision. I mean, we are talking about the future right here in beautiful southern Germany, where this is being developed, and it is so exciting. I mean, imagine you will be sitting somewhere with a business partner and everything you're deciding is settled via smartphone, via these decentralized networks. So Sandra, what is the vision for you guys? Where will Blackpin be in the future? Could you give us any color on how this will look someday? Yeah, we don't see Blackpin as a messenger anymore. We started 4 years ago, and back then the whole messaging topic around communication was relevant. And wherever communication happens in the B2B sector, there will also be transactions someday. Because at a certain point, I want to run a business, I want to offer consulting, I want to do product marketing and whatever. And that's why we say we want to become the digital transaction platform of the future for Europe. A bit like the answer to WeChat in China, but with a secure product meeting the requirements of Europe for protecting our data. That's what it's all about for us. For us, every single user is important, which is why only one key is generated for him to render his data safe and secure. And we think this is the capital of the future, also for the companies. So looking at the future of Blackpin and its vision, we want to see it as the platform in Europe through which agile working is enabled. meaning independent of place and time, as we're witnessing it right now in this corona period. Work will also change. I will not only have one employer, but I will be able to offer my services on many platforms. And we are seeing us as the kind of basis or foundation, like the Messenger is fully developed already. It is there. And we are building on top of this now the digital transaction settlement platform, and on top of this layer there will be so-called micro apps by the companies, which will offer consulting or marketplaces or products or whatever. So everybody can freely join in there, just as is the case today in the web, and offer the respective product, be it a web or mobile product. And what we are offering is the whole settlement beneath this layer, and all this is built on 4 strategic pillars, which include the transaction, because as I've already said, wherever communication is will ultimately be transactions necessary at some point. And then there are smart contracts. I've got to be able to have a proof for whatever kind of business has just been settled, which includes employment contracts, sales contracts, services, whatever. And then I need organization tools by means of which I can track the time, as Holger already explained. All this needs to be recorded somehow. Today I had this funny story with my neighbor because I had this short circuit in my sauna cabin. And so I called my neighbor, who is a freelance electrician, and then he wanted to know what I do for a living. And of course he didn't understand it really, so I explained it to him. And since he always complains about the fact that he works for the whole neighborhood basically for free and never makes any money, I told him that in the future this would not be a problem, because we would log into our smartphones now and have this his services directly billed, and we could have a coffee together, which I would make for him, but the time spent for drinking it would not be billed, because just as Holger has explained, that's annoying. And now the time would be running, he would take care of that short circuit in the cable, and now it would be tracked, so I would know, okay, he needed 12 minutes to fix it, and everything would be settled and automatically. And then the 4th pillar are those geodata features, so that I not only track the time or add a product or a service, but also the distance which I am covering. For instance, in the care sector, you have the patient in the center, and around him lots of people gather, but not all of those are in a business relation to him. But this would also include the granddaughter who gets her pocket money when she visits her granny to water the flowers. So she would also have her wallet and would get paid just as the caregiver who comes 3 times a day, or the doctor who checks her every other day. And all of them are communicating with each other and caring for the granny, and everybody would be in a different employment relationship with her and would get paid accordingly. And all this would run entirely digitized and automated. No one needs to worry. This is so exciting about this product, that it is not only relevant for the suit wearers in the multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, but it also includes the granddaughter who would get her pocket money from her grandmother, with everything happening on various layers, as you've mentioned. Really exciting. Now the decisive question is about the roadmap. Where are you right now in terms of roadmap for the whole product? Maybe you could explain this a bit. Yeah, for sure. So we already have pilot customers using the Messenger, and also with regard to the digital transaction platform, we have 2 to 3 pilot customers who are co-developing this with their use cases. And we are really happy about this because we always develop according to the requirements. So we intend to realize this in the coming 12 months. And this will happen very closely to these use cases of companies which focus on mobile working already today. Like not people sitting in an office using Office and Teams, but being out there and moving around, and who are in need of such an application even today. And there are lots of use cases. Wow, so these were quite a lot of pillars which have been addressed already, quite a lot of vision also. And the question which is interesting for us with regard to IOTA is that IOTA not only offers data integrity, but also has a token which could be used. We have heard about smart contracts maybe in the future. So Holger, could you elaborate a bit on the IOTA Foundation's plans for implementing IOTA here? Yes, we are starting with the issue of data integrity for documentation purposes, for instance, for audit trails, contact-related events, or contact-relevant information. We certainly want to expand this together with Blackpin. This is a long-term collaboration which we have planned. If you think about what could be enabled through smart contracts, for instance, automized processing of contracts or the starting of certain actions which are based on, how do you call this, trigger points, it becomes obvious that this is a really exciting topic for us. We also have the possibility of managing digital assets by means of IOTA, and especially in the realm of digital assets, or colored tokens as they are sometimes called, this is very interesting. This is about providing ownership digitally, like a digital certificate of ownership. For instance, you could represent various kinds of services and the exchanging of goods digitally, and that you can also prove the ownership accordingly and share and exchange this via Blackpin. And all of this opens up whole new possibilities in various economic areas. And that's exactly where we see Blackpin's great strengths and why we are very interested in a long-term collaboration. So that means you could use it to process payments for very small amounts of money, like we've already seen it with WeChat Pay, which is already being used, or you could use it even for micropayments. So at the end of the day, it is a payment solution, but you could also use it for processing any kind of services, any object-related transactions. So I could theoretically do all of this with IOTA being the settlement layer, which would guarantee that all this will have the corresponding counter value. Absolutely. This is about administration of any kind of ownership. It is about payment exchange. It is about payments for microtransactions. One could also think of Blackpin as a bigger transaction platform which various business partners are connected to, and this could be persons or companies, municipalities, and in the future even machines. And there are numerous business models which can be realized via Blackpin and IOTA with all its flexible possibilities, provide a very sound basis to also record the data integrity in all of this accordingly. This, of course, is really exciting, and we can see this is about the future, and sometimes it is kind of difficult to already imagine this future, but we've already heard so many examples now of what this might look someday. Maybe one more question for Tobias. We have talked quite a lot about the messenger. Will there also be the possibility to run this on various end platforms? So is this all focused on mobile devices, or will there be versions for PCs or other devices? Are there any plans? Yes. As of now, we are supporting the common mobile platforms like iOS and Android. And since our partners have repeatedly stated their wish for a desktop version, respectively a web-based interface, we will also offer such a version which will provide all the functionalities. This is on our roadmap for next year. So we are at this. Okay, that's a great thing to be able to work across platforms. Really nice. And now that we've talked about chats and contracts, it would be, of course, be awesome to have a functionality which would allow for calls, video calls, and such also in a safe way. Will this be possible as well? Yes. So right now we are supporting the classical audio messages in the chat, but we also will enable direct video messages and video calls. There are also many use cases for this in the IoT and consultancy sector where I want to or even have to add certain experts to my call in order to facilitate the respective business process. And here it is absolutely necessary to also be able to provide video call functionalities both in the mobile version and in the web interface. This is so extensive and we are excited, and personally I'm really looking forward to using this, knowing this is safe and sound. That's really awesome. I suppose you're already in contact with some companies and so on. Maybe one more question for Sandra. if somebody is really interested now, saying, I'm running a business, I'm interested and I would like to try this out. What is the status quo? Is the product market ready or not? And how would the registration process be for trying this out? Yeah, so the messenger is already here. You can try it out and also customize it, as I mentioned before. Add your users, manage them, and start communicating, and thereby even replacing quite some of the existing older channels like intranet, extranet, or newsletters. So this is what you can do already today. As already said, the digital transaction platform is being built, and this will be hopefully there by the end of 2021. We are at this, and if you want to try this out for your business, please contact us via our website or info@blackpin.de, and we will create one user account in our so-called super admin center for you, where we do the whole customer management, and then the customer will receive his login data to the platform where he can do as he pleases, like importing his users, clustering them into teams. They will be invited fully automatic, and they can download their version from App Store, Google Play, and so on. Just the normal process with a double opt-in procedure, and off you go. It's that easy. Awesome. So for you guys at home, go and contact Blackpin, but please keep in mind we are talking about a business-to-business messenger here, which means not every interested individual should bombard you with messages now, but this is really about using this in the business sector primarily, and we shall see what other sectors will follow beyond that. So talking about business, does this entail any costs? Yes, so right now at this level, the messenger still costs €1 per user per month, which will be different for companies with more than 100 users, because this business model will not work anymore for maybe 10,000 employees. But I wanted to add that we have also inquiries from families whose members are sitting in our meetings saying, I'd like to have this for my 10-person family, which is why we are thinking of reaching out to the B2C or C2C sector as well someday. I guess it will merge someday anyhow, because our customers are mainly B2B, but also B2G, because we're having many municipalities that are interested, and we also have cities as customers who want to use this. Maybe someday also a citizen app, and then there will be other business models, of course. And someday our business model will only be based on transactions anymore, and then things will change, and we will be able to offer this hopefully soon for free, because we'll have many users who will profit from this. Right now it is B2B, but mostly these are drifting towards the B2B2C approach or B2G, and then the citizens or even associations. We have associations using it, and kindergarten, schools, and other organizations. Really exciting. Crazy. I've got to say I am really curious and excited for the business sector, but also for everything else. I mean, we could even talk about an IOTA community messenger. I guess the community will love it, so who knows what the future holds. Of course, all the best and fingers crossed to all of you who are involved here, and that this project will succeed. The whole product looks really good, and we are looking forward to this future and what it will look like. We've had many great illustrations of this future today, so there is nothing left to say, but thank you very much for having us here today, and we'll keep our fingers crossed for you. And to you guys at home, we from Hello Iota will of course continue to cover this project. Whenever there are news, we will be there, and we'll let you know. Apart from that, I wish you a nice week. Don't forget to tune in to a new episode of Hello Iota Roundup on Saturdays, so please stay healthy and take care. See you and goodbye.